And government seems to be committed, come what may, they seem to be committed to bring out GST on 1st April 2017.
Hi Pramod.
Hi Rishabh.
Yeah, it's good to have you and in this conclave, and we are really getting benefited out of the experts which are gathered here in a Tax Sutra Conclave 2016, and I would say that experience is much wonderful experience, and every year on year. Now this year the hot favorite subject is GST, and as you know that India is moving into a new growth trajectory after this new government has taken over, and at the same time we are experimenting with the biggest reform on this earth, which is going to affect every single person out of 6 on the planet because of our population. What you say about the preparedness of industry?
So Rishabh, I would say the preparedness of the industry, and as industry we can always keep on demanding for more time. Maybe some people will keep on asking for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. But let's accept the fact that most of the things about GST, the structure of dual GST, how the transactions will be taxed, how the transactions have to be accounted for, how the transactions have to be reported, are in the public domain for a long time. And maybe as industry, a lot of people have been guilty of waiting for the final rules, final law, and which certainly will take time. The government had to work really hard on building the political consensus around that. The Rajya Sabha to clear the bill, and then they are left with very little time to achieve it on their own.
Right.
So to the credit of the government also, they had been, while the GST law was stuck in the parliament, but in parallel they continue to work in the back end on the GST network. Maybe the industry should also have taken a similar approach.
Yep.
Now the companies which have not taken a similar approach, they did not start taking baby steps in preparation, they will certainly struggle. And government seems to be committed, come what may, they seem to be committed to bring out GST on 1st April 2017.
Absolutely.
So we could see a mad rush, some kind of crazy statements being made by people. But it's a question of, you don't have a choice. The government is committed. Industry, if you have not already taken the positive steps in preparation for GST, better you start preparing now rather than waiting until
Absolutely.
tomorrow.
I think the GST is all about automation and bringing those people who are not part of the tax system, so broad basing the tax net. Now at the same time, capacity building and training is also a cause of concern on both sides, the government side, the tax collector side, and as well as the taxpayer side. And since the law is completely new, everybody is trying to figure out whether the glass is half full or half empty. But as you rightly said, I think the objective is to collaborate and make the transition successful for the benefit of our country as well as our own industry. Now in this connection, I would like to know from you that what is your thought on the technology, because everybody is using different technology, and now the GSTN system will aggregate all of them and create a system wherein 5.7 terabit of data per month, they are saying that it will flow through one system. So on the data security, data privacy, lot of concerns raised by many people. So do you have any view, because all the business data is going to pass through a system? Of course we should have faith, and the faith is the only thing which we can have. But what all measures the industry or the companies will take care, the large companies, just to protect their data security and privacy?
So Rishabh, on that I would say, first of all, if we look at the best part, and if I look at from my professional perspective, the best part of entire GST implementation is, right from beginning it was very clear that the whole system of compliance and reporting will be completely paperless.
Yep.
Irrespective of whether you are a small trader or you are a large corporate house, every transaction has to be recorded and reported in an electronic format. And if we look at, this is the first time anywhere in the world this kind of a robust system is being implemented. So maybe if GSTN system works well, as India, as an Indians, we can take pride in building a system which is, at
nowhere in the world we can see this kind of a mammoth system implemented ever.
So which is something we Indians should be looking forward to boasting and thumping our chests later on. Yes. And maybe some of the countries might like to adopt and borrow our systems. Now on the part of, so that's part on the automation. Now there will be a lot of small and medium enterprises who may not have the capacity or who may not like to build the capacity in-house to have all this online reporting on their own. They may like to outsource, and that's what I understand. A lot of tax professionals are also working on building, that
Tools
kind of
and
an intermediary
technology.
setup
Yep.
where they would do the advisory part also. They will give that IT support also. GST Network as a company also has come out with the concept of GST Suvidha provider.
Right.
So it looks like they have thought
Well
through all
thought
these
of
things.
all those things.
And yes, it's a new concept, and every new concept takes its
Time
own
to
time
settle.
to settle down and for people to understand.
Yep.
Now, on your third question around the data privacy and security, I would still say that some of the concerns or apprehensions which are being raised are going a little too far.
Yeah.
So, are we saying that the current system of paper filing was much more secure,
Right.
where you were filing VAT returns in a paper form, and those paper returns were flying everywhere in the corridors in the tax
In the
departments?
universe, yeah.
Are we saying that that system was better? And
Of
even
course not, because our today's system is fragmented between state center. There are a lot of fights, and one India, one tax, one nation. If that principle is followed by heart by all the states, then we can definitely see a different India, a growing India, pro industry and pro taxpayers. And as of now, from the service point of view, we are going to get better service from the government if we have given them the data. Then the system will take care of the pains of the long drawn assessments and litigation.
Yeah.
Of course, litigation cannot be avoided, but it should happen only on the principal point, not on the operational point or maybe a day-to-day business. So there we can certainly avoid litigation in GST. That's what I feel.
no, I would completely agree with you.
And then secondly, the ecosystem has got 5 component or stakeholder to my mind. It's a T5 principle, I say. The taxpayer, tax collector, then tax advisor, tax technologist and tax trainer. All will be equally important to collaborate with each other and help this big task to become successful. So we have discussed training part, capacity building. Now from the tax trainers, tax collector side also, we are expecting the kind of change in the attitude and also the kind of a learner's attitude. If they also will follow the same, then I think that would be a great thing, because anyway it is said, always said in all the forums, that tax is going to increase in GST because the thresholds are down, and then many more new people will join. And to begin with, I think around 80 lakh GST dealer will start from the day one. And it's going to grow. So what you feel as a country, do we need to have maybe in future the tax rate will be reduced, or it will remain same, or it will increase?
Very difficult to predict at this point in time, Rishabh, without having the real concrete data around the performance of GST. But if you look at the real problem in our country has been around the tax compliance. How many people actually comply with the taxes? How many people pay in time or pay correctly? That has been the single biggest problem, and that seems to be being addressed through the GST network. With the implementation of GST, actually who needs to be worried about? It's the people who had been habitual of evading taxes,
Right.
or people who had been taking doing bogus billings,
Yeah.
inflated claims, because they knew that the department never had the capacity to audit each and every assessee. That's where the real leakage had been there. That's where there was an unfair advantage to the unorganized sector or the people who were tax evaders and who knew how to manage the system. They will be at a real disadvantage, and the companies which had been on the right side of the law
Will always be gainful out of this
yes. So
reform.
at least I would say now going forward it will be a real competition or a fair level playing field for the organized sector, unorganized sector, that both of them will be required to pay their taxes correctly, honestly and in time. So that disadvantage which the organized sector was facing will largely be removed.
The last question I have with you is that right now we are seeing that a lot of people are creating and exchanging a lot of ideas about GST. So basically they are generated through their own fear, their own impressions or perspective. Now a lot of WhatsApp groups, LinkedIn groups, and people are sharing everywhere. Now in this scenario, the expertise, the right tax expert who has the authority to deal with the issue or the subject are actually getting widespread, because everybody is fearful and they are speculating. What you suggest that and as a GST Street, like I am creating a platform wherein I want to bring the real GST expert, the premium authority on the taxation issue, and they are going to impart something. How do you see this kind of platform in the future will actually help collaborating the various stakeholders instead of just informally exchanging the data? Would it help, or what is your view on that?
So I would say certainly all those advices which are floating around on WhatsApp groups or LinkedIn advices are quite dangerous,
Yes.
given by the people who probably do not have that kind of understanding of the law, forget the expert understanding of the law. So anybody acting on that advice and structuring their business transactions
Could
around
be-
that advice
Would be fatal.
could be fatal.
Yeah.
It's like going to a person for treatment of a disease and knowing that he's not a doctor. So you
Buying
have to go to a
prescription
qualified
medicine from a chemist, or even not a chemist, buying from a friend.
right. So that's dangerous. That needs to be avoided. And certainly, it will be a huge opportunity for all the platforms which will come in, or the intermediaries who will render these kind of
course.
technology-enabled services, or who will have in-house tax professionals rendering authentic advice and with an accountability, right? That I have studied your problem. This is my advice, and I will own up to that advice.
So, being part of the Tax Sutra 2016 conclave, like we meet each other normally in Tax Sutra conclave, and this is, so Tax Sutra is doing a wonderful job, and I think all the tax professional has got this opportunity of lifetime to contribute in this building one nation, one tax. Thanks, Pramod, and I think it was very wonderful discussion we had today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Rishabh. Pleasure meeting.